Hey, welcome to a new segment that we're going to put out every Monday. It's called Monday Motivation, and our whole idea here is to give you a little something to hold on to and give you a reason to get up and go this week. And so it is Monday. Let's do this thing. I want to tell you about an experience I had just a couple of weeks ago. So I had this idea that I was going to sell the golf clubs that I usually use, and I was going to buy a different set. And so I found a set online that I wanted to buy and decided to go ahead and pull the trigger, bought those clubs. They were going to be shipped here and were supposed to be here on like August 1st, which I think was going to be a Saturday. And so I went ahead and sold the other clubs to somebody and delivered those clubs on Saturday, thinking that my clubs are going to be at my doorstep that afternoon. So that afternoon comes and I'm checking the tracking on USPS, and it says they were delivered to Memphis at the post office at 1 a.m. on Saturday. And I thought, okay, maybe I'm not going to get them today, but maybe I'll get them on Monday. Well, Monday came and they didn't show up. And Tuesday came and they didn't show up. And finally I go to the post office and I say, hey, this has stopped tracking. I can't figure out where these are. What in the world's going on? And she said, well, look, I hate to tell you this, but Memphis post office right now is kind of a black hole. There's not a whole lot of people working down there. We're not sure where the packages are. This thing hadn't been touched since it came into the facility, it seems. Well, that afternoon, Alicia is at home and our mail is delivered about 3 o'clock. And so at 3 o'clock, she calls me and said, hey, I think your golf clubs are here. There's this huge box that the post office just put on the doorstep. I was at work. And so I said, hey, load those up, put them in your car and bring them up here. And she said, well, they won't even fit in my car. But she finally got them in there and she gets them up to the office and I go get them out of the back seat. And I look at the box and it's an Amazon box, which is clue number one. This is not going to be good because I didn't order them from Amazon. And I looked at the label and it was shipped to Alicia, not Chad. Well, that's clue number two, that these are not what I want. What had happened is our small group had decided we're going to buy a bunch of binders to donate to the school system to help them out with their school supply drive. Well, those $100 or so worth of binders had shown up on my doorstep and not my golf clubs. So I was pretty let down. You can imagine the letdown on that day. And that makes me think of what happens in Scripture when Jesus confronts people who've been let down a lot in their lives. He goes to people who have heartaches and who have had heartbreaks and who have gone through a lot more struggles than not knowing where a set of golf clubs is. And he tells people like that, like a woman in John chapter 4 who's probably been mistreated her entire life. And she goes to a well to get water like she's done probably every day of her life. And he says to her, if you'll follow me, if you'll come to me, you won't have to worry about water that gets stagnant all the time. I will give you living water. You're not going to be let down so much anymore. You're going to have something that lives inside you. He further explains that statement in John chapter 7. And I just want to read some of these verses to you. In John chapter 7, he says, Jesus stands and he cries out in verse 37, if anybody thirsts, let him come to me and drink. He who believes in me, as the scripture has said, out of his heart will flow rivers of living water. You know what that tells me? Is that Jesus promises that if we come to him and if we give our lives over to him, if we believe on him and if we submit to him, then we're not going to have all these letdowns. And they're not going to be such huge letdowns that they wreck our lives anymore. He says to this woman who's probably got some misfortune happening in her future as well as her past, that if you come to me, no matter how bad it gets, you've still got living water. He tells people in John chapter 7 who were struggling through life that if you come to me, then deep inside of you, you're going to have this thing welling up into rivers and fountains of living water. So today, I don't know what your struggles are, but I know you got them. And I know that a lot of them are much more serious than just not knowing where a set of golf clubs is and being a little bit upset when binders show up at your house instead of what you've been waiting for. But whatever your struggle is, whatever your letdown is, whatever's gotten you off maybe on the wrong foot already this week, already on this Monday, if you believe in God, and if you trust in God, and if you've given your life over to God, I want you to know that you still have living water. And there still is, from deep inside you, a fountain that flows up that's never going to let you down, that you'll never thirst, that you'll always have the comfort and the peace that God is there with you. So you know what? It's Monday. Let's do this thing.